Friends, I hope you're well. I would have come to visit a little more if I could, but alas, here we are. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Jake. I worked at Wallsend for a while there as the youth pastor before moving down here to Adelaide, where I get to be a school chaplain and a history teacher, and it's hectic and it's fun and it's crazy and it's a bit chaotic. Just like a teenage boy in love. Me. A couple of years ago. That's where we're going to start this morning. Going to start there. Stop off of some ancient poetry. Briefly talk about my Year 7 drama. Then going to bring it back to you and I accepting a dinner invitation. Let's go. Some of the guys in youth have heard this story before, but I wanted to bring it back and share it with the rest of you all. I once met a girl whom I fell madly in love with. Kinda. Infatuated is probably a more accurate description of the emotions I felt towards this girl. I met her at a youth event when I was towards the end of high school, and she lived a little south from us, so I didn't see her very often. Just at a handful of youth events and things like that. She was friends with some of my friends, so our paths crossed, and I enjoyed those moments. There was one time in our school holidays where, in order to see her again, I arranged for my friends, who were her friends, to go down and see her. The excuse was for her to see her friends, but the real reason was for me to try and spend some more time with her. It worked perfectly, kind of. We went to her house, hung out, went to the shops, had lunch, and at the end of the day, as we were leaving, she hugged her friends and then she hugged me. That was the dream. I'd finally spent some solid time with her, and that fulfillment was something that I'd look forward to, and that was great. Nothing ever came of that, though. We saw each other every so often after that at different events. She's living a great life. I married Letitia, so I'm winning. But that hope I had, that expectation, was worth the wait and anticipation and the hype that my brain had built up. In around 1000 BCE, the Israelite King David wrote a bunch of poems and songs reflecting on his life and his God. These poems and these songs were written before he was king as well and during his reign, and a bunch of these songs got organised together with a bunch of other poems and songs from other people from across the country's histories, hundreds of years later, into what we know today as the Book of Psalms. The 23rd Psalm is a pretty famous poem, and it goes like this. The Lord is my shepherd, I will not be in need. He lets me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in the paths of his righteousness for the sake of his name. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. Certainly, goodness and faithfulness will follow me all the days of my life, and my dwelling will be in the house of the Lord forever. David here feels like a sheep being led by a good shepherd. He provides. He gives rest. He brings us to peace and replenishes us. He shows us how to live in love and goodness because of who he is. But David doesn't just live in this dreamlike state where everything is perfect. He knows that life is full of ups and full of downs. Life is full of moments where you can't control things and the pressure builds up and you're surrounded by 1,000 different things all out to get you. I hope that you're not feeling like that at the moment. However, I'm not naive enough to know that might not be true. Life is crazy wherever you're at. Whether you're at some quiet waters or you're walking through the valley of the shadow of death, I hope that this next part of the poem brings you hope and comfort. Verse 5 startles me. Imagine you're walking through this valley as David imagined. I like to picture the big trench from Finding Nemo or the elephant graveyard in The Lion King. In the middle of this place, with the enemy and all of the pressures pushing down on you, trying to get to you, God has prepared a table for you to sit at, to eat, to breathe, to rest. A place where you can chat, catch up, enjoy yourself. That's where God chooses to put this table. The anointing comes here. The abundance of an overflowing cup are both here in the presence of your enemies. It's only when David stops here to eat with the shepherd that he says that God's goodness and faithfulness will be with him forever. And instead of living in the moment or a place or in peace or in chaos, David's going to live in the house of the Lord. When I was in year 7 at Macquarie, I got involved in a series of short drama skits for our woe. So I played a short astronomer who was a bit clueless and relied heavily on the help of my assistant, who was played by an older student. The theme of the WOS was space, and our speaker talked about the grandness of God and his capabilities and his awesome power. In the weeks following that WOS, I'd often pop into our chaplain's office to chat about God. Pastor Brad Ray, what a champ. He gave me a couple of DVDs to watch about God and space, these Louis Giglio DVDs, which have become pretty well known in the world of modern Christianity. Changed my life. Without a doubt, these messages were the trigger for me choosing to follow God. Louis outlined the magnitude of God's power, how he breathed out stars, handmade nebula and constellations, and everything just blew me away. Space is massive and God just holds it there in his hand. But God doesn't just leave it there. He doesn't just sit on his throne and command the starry host in his glory. He enters the space that he created, that valley we're going through. God is beside us. He whips out the picnic blanket and basket and he says, take a seat, let's eat. So you might have exams coming up, finishing the HSC. Work might be chaotic. Personal lives are tiring, and when they get messy, they just weigh us down. I found that lockdowns annoy us in small places, major inconveniences in other places, and really cause chaos and doubt to the way we see life. Jobs are up in the air, travel is inconsistent, and it's difficult to see a way forward and out of this. Others of you are flourishing. Lockdowns bring peace, recharge, and comfort. Some jobs are safe and unaffected. Online learning could be your thing. That personalization of learning or working from home might bring out your creativity. Regardless, though, in this moment, if you're beside the still waters, or if you're sitting down to a meal as you're surrounded, God is with you. This big, powerful, creative being is right beside you, walking beside you. There's not just hope for the end of the path. Hope is with you now. So what do? What can you do? 2 things. And that's it. Firstly, follow. Follow the shepherd. He knows what's best and he cares for you. Now, when it doesn't look like he knows what's best, and you're nervously walking along this strange and scary path, he pauses for a moment and invites you to take a seat and eat a meal. And that's the second task. Accept the invitation. Amidst your chaotic life, God is with you and his presence will sustain you. So accept his presence. You're in control of where it is in your life. Hand over that control to him. Follow his leading and guiding. And you'll move from green pastures to valleys and shadows, back to still waters and everywhere in between. God will always be with you every single step of the way. I want to remind some of you of a story, and some of you haven't heard it. Many of you were involved. My baptism. I decided to publicly show my decision to follow Jesus to my friends and to my family, just as Jesus did by getting dunked underwater, as a symbol to wash away me choosing and run my life and being reborn and letting God take charge in my commitment to him. Doesn't mean I'm perfect or make the right calls, but it means I'm trying and want to show people that I am. So we did it on April 12, 2014. Turns out to be my wife's birthday. It's pretty neat. Redhead Beach. This is what the day looked like. Stunning day, hey. Did a little short thing beforehand. Some people shared, some people played some music, ready to get in. We've got Brock, who I explored the story of the Bible with, Wazza, who was my chaplain in high school, and Ben, who was a massive mentor at Wallsend, helping me grow, and we made plenty of good music together too. So we got in, waves crashing. Seems like a bad idea, the beach is closed. Crazy fools. A couple of the waves crashing over us, making it difficult to swim and get out deep enough to do the baptism. When we finally got out there, Brock and Wazza were chatting to me about how to do it, but we didn't notice that the water at our feet was getting shallower and shallower, because you can see in the background here what we couldn't. So just as we go to do it, just as I get pushed, oh man, and I'm coming back up, the waves come crashing in. You can see it here. Ben saw it coming and made the dive. Wazza handled it, but Brock and I got absolutely wrecked. Smashed all the way up the beach, and everyone standing there just had to run and jump and get out of the way. My grandmother got knocked over and she's on the ground. People are wet, things are all over the place. It's a good time. Sometimes we just get smashed by the waves, eh? But that was a big spiritual moment in my life, and God was there. I'm not saying that that was the valley of the shadow of the death. I'm using it as an analogy for when we get smashed by our lives. But God is with you there. God picks you up and he offers you a meal. So accept it. What does it look like? A rest, a moment to chat, a prayer, listening to God, enjoying yourself. Set some time to be with God. Maybe it's with your family too. Your husband, your wife, kids, parents, grandparents, good friends. Open the scripture together. Open it on your own. Eat a physical meal one night, maybe Friday night, and intentionally invite God in and accept his invitation in that moment. We as Jesus followers have the hope and the confidence that he walks beside us. That he's conquered. He's conquering. And he will conquer all of the enemies and the pressures pushing down on you through his death and resurrection on the cross. Accept his gift. Accept his dinner invitation, because he loves you. Can you catch up with you all sometime soon? When we can, we'll be back to grab a drink at the cart from the boys, make some music with the team and hang out with everyone. This stuff is all temporary, it's stressful and it's difficult. But Jesus is with you. He's beside you. He's never left you. He's not going to start now. He's prepared a table for you to eat at right now. My friends, take a seat.